Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So here's another deck profile for you guys today. This time I'm finally updating the Branded Chimera deck simply because I actually got the new support cards. And I'm really excited to showcase what they do and how I kind of changed up this deck all around because ever since the ban list dropped, I had to reconsider my extra deck options, especially because cards Guilty Gearfried are now no point in me even running that now that Baron DeFleur is gone. Same thing with the Dragonite Quest, since, the whole purpose of that card was to super poly Baron and Crimson Dragon. So I was like, okay, let's see what I can do now and how can I change the deck around, especially with the new support. And I gotta say, a lot of the new cards add a new formula to the deck now. So it's like, there's so much that you can do now. It's not always going to be as linear as you think anymore. And again, I'm pretty excited to show you what I came up with. So let's go and get started. All right, so the main deck is 40 cards, starting off with 3 copies of Mirror Sword Knight. Pretty much your main starter in the entire deck. It's a 1-card starter. You can tribute this card, special summon any monster from your deck that mentions Chimera Fusion, in which case your main target is going to be Big Wing Baphomet, simply because that card is a +2. It also has a graveyard effect where if you have a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast on the field, you can banish this card whenever your opponent activates a monster effect. But of course, it has to be a monster effect they activate on their side of the field. So yeah, that's the only downside to it. But overall, still a good card and can definitely, play around disruption and stuff like that. Next up, 3 copies of Cornfield Codal, another good 1-card starter. You can pitch this card to search out any monster that lists Chimera Fusion in its text, in which case you're most likely going to bring out the Mirror Sword Knight. And it also has a graveyard effect as well, where if you control a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, anytime your opponent targets a card, or activates an effect that targets in general, as long as it's a card that you control, by the way, you can banish this card from your graveyard to negate that effect. And this is a great way to play around cards like Imperm and Effect Failure. So yeah, I definitely love it, and I'm finally happy that I got a playset of the super rare. So shout out to my friend Grant for helping me get the 3rd copy. Moving on, playing 3 copies of Gazelle. Gazelle's pretty neat because if it's used as fusion material, you can add any one illusion monster from your deck to your hand. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can either add a level 5 Fiend monster or a Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand. Next up, 2 copies of Big Wing Baphomet. This card's crazy. This card is normal or special summoned. You can add both a level 4 Beast and a Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand. So this one can actually search out both at once, whereas Gazelle has to be one or the other. And if this card is used as fusion material, you can special summon 1 illusion monster from your graveyard. Now for the new cards, I'm playing 2 copies of Nightmare Apprentice. I'd play 3 if I had 3, but I was only able to get my hands on 2. But, I mean, 2 should still be fine. Again, it is searchable through Gazelle anyway, so it's not the end of the world if you don't run this at 3. I mean, again, 2 should be enough. You can special summon this card from your hand by discarding 1 card from your hand. So, of course, it can be anything. And then if this card is special summoned, you can search out an illusion monster from your deck to your hand. And of course, like all illusion monsters, they have the gimmick where they can't really be destroyed in battle. But yeah, that's about it. But yeah, I like it. Now, if you're playing the pure illusion version of this deck, then yeah, for sure you're going to want to play this at 3. And I know some combos where you can make a Beatrice with the Chimera King. So it's a really cool combo. But again, since we're on Branded, I do have to deal with the restrictions of, being able to only summon fusions. But again, I love what Nightmare Apprentice adds to the table. Moving on, playing the 1 copy of Diabels. This card's crazy good. So, this is an illusion monster. So here's what it says. If there's a Sinful Spoils card in either player's graveyard, you can special summon this card. Now, most of the time, well, there might be times that it's not going to be the case because I don't play any Sinful Spoil cards in this deck. But, if anyone who's on a wanted package, that's going to be pretty convenient. But because this card is an illusion monster, you can simply just dump this off of the effect of the Baphomet Fusion and then bring it back off of either the Big Wing Baphomet or one of your fusion monsters effects. So you're always going to be able to bring this card out regardless. So that's one of the things about it. Now this card's crazy because it's essentially a one-sided anti-spell against your opponent. And of course it says that all spells and traps have to be set. Again, this only affects the opponent. So it's a great way to deal with quick play spells, especially because Pearly's, a pretty good deck too. And yeah, you don't want them to kick off. Against Runex, same thing, they have to set everything. And this also has an effect where if you or your opponent sets a card, you could destroy one card your opponent controls. So yeah, this card is insane. Another card that's making a comeback is the Emissary from the House of Wax. I initially played this beforehand, but I kind of decided to just side it out because, like, at last format, it wasn't that good. But now that we're in a format with 10 Pie Dragons and even Yubel being in the format, this card actually just got a lot better because, like, whenever your opponent declares an attack, you can just special summon this card. And of course, it has an effect where your opponent, at the end, until the start of the next battle phase, all attack position monsters your opponent currently controls cannot change battle positions, and they cannot be used as fusion, synchro, exceeds, or even link material. Also, their effects get negated. So, yeah, Emissary is actually pretty annoying. So, it's a searchable hand trap, if you can believe it. And to round up our illusion package, it's going to be the 1 copy of Master Tell. If it's sent to the graveyard from anywhere, basically, you can special summon any 1 illusion monster. Of course, it locks you from summoning illusions from your graveyard for the duration of the turn, but I mean, that's not going to be an issue considering that's what we mostly play. So yeah, Master Tell, pretty nuts. All right, so that's it for the Chimera, or rather the illusion package. Starting off, moving on to the branded cards, or rather main deck ones. The 2 Fallen of Albaz, and a non-engine card. I'm playing the 1 copy of Dark Magician. I am back on Dragoon, so spoilers. So yeah, and I figured since, you know, we do run Albaz, it's a dragon monster, it makes it easy for a Dragoon. For my hand traps, I'm only playing 3 Ash and 3 Imperm, you know, just because, like, I don't main deck Droll and Lockbird. It's not seeing as much play anymore, so I figured it's like, let's just, you know, make room for other cards and so forth. So yeah, I figured these will do just fine. Plus, you also have to consider Thrust being in the format, so, like, that's why I'm trying to run a little less hand traps. Now for my spell lineup. Playing 3 copies of Branded Fusion, obviously because, you know, we are on the branded package. And I do love that I have the ultimate rares now, so super happy about that. 3 Chimera Fusion. This card's nuts. It's broken. You can polymerization as many times as you want, but it also has the once per turn effect where you get to recycle it from your deck to your hand, or from your graveyard to your hand, I'm sorry, as long as you have a Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast either on field or in the grave. 3 Super Poly, a fantastic board breaker. 3 Droplet. Droplet is crazy this format. And considering that I need some of my illusions to be in the graveyard, I can make it so my opponent just can't respond to it. So, like, yeah, it can be pretty detrimental with the right matchup. 2 Triple Tactics. Great card overall, and it's actually pretty strong against the Voiceless Voice, so not too bad. And of course, the 1 called by the grave. It comes in clutch whenever you have it. And that rounds up our main deck. Now moving on to the extra deck. So the extra deck is a little different, but not by much. So starting off with the obvious ones, playing 2 copies of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast. Definitely a 2 of. The fact that it rips a card out of your opponent's hand is really nice. And heck, if you actually manage to activate Triple T, you basically get to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. So that can come up a lot. The 1 Perfect Fusion, as I mentioned, this card's basically your Foolish Burial. Also playing the Chimera, the Illusion Beast, a great OTK piece, especially if you use multiple illusion monsters as it's a material. So yeah, like, this card is just insane. The 1 Guardian Chimera, I know some people like to play this at 2, but I decided to stick to 1, just because, like, I'm not on the Edge Imp package, so that's the whole reason why I'm on it. 1 Magnum the Reliever, a great card just to not only recycle your fusions cards, but it's also a great interruption. For the branded ones, I'm playing the 1 Mirror Jade, the 1 Albion, 1 Lebellion, and 1 Rinbrum. We do run Beast Monster, so it's really easy to make this thing. For my Super Poly targets, the 1 Muddragon, the 1 Garura. I decided to bring in Starving Venom. I might switch this out for the Yubel Fusion Monster because, you know, Yubel is a deck, but Starving Venom works too considering that deck is all dark. I believe Snake Eyes are also dark monsters, so, like, I feel like this one just has a little bit more flexibility, so that's just my opinion on that. The 1 Dragostapelia, and of course, as I mentioned, 1 copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So, yeah, all fantastic cards. I would definitely recommend trying these out. Okay, now for the side deck, decided to go with 3 Nib, you know, for the right deck. Since we are in a very combo-heavy format, Nib should come up quite a bit. I'm also dabbling with Cashier Fenrir as a side option, especially against, like, the Yubel deck, you don't want that deck to really kick off too much, especially because like they want their cards to get popped to summon out other Yubels. So like with Fenrir, you could banish one of their monsters face down. So yeah, it's great for interruption as well. I also got some 1-ofs here. I got the End of Anubis. There are plenty of graveyard effects that take place this format, so definitely not a bad one. 1 Dark Barrier statue. This is primarily against like any non-dark heavy decks, especially like Tenpai Dragons. So definitely a great card to deal with that. King Tiger Wangu. This is to deal with birds. It's to deal with Yubel. Even Snake Eyes struggle against this card because like it has a passive effect where like any monster with 1400 or less attack is normal summoned or special summoned, they're immediately destroyed, and this does not activate. So King Tiger Wangu is pretty crazy. And again, since it's a beast monster, you can just send it. You can, if you were to activate Branded Fusion, you could just basically go into Rinbrum and then bring this card back with either with the effects of the Chimera Flying Mythical Beast and so forth. So there's a lot of uses for King Tiger Wangu. Against like the Pearly matchup, because like that deck can easily throw you off if you're not prepared for it, I decided to throw in the Herald of the Abyss. And for back row heavy strategies, 2 Lightning Storm and the 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. These cards are actually really strong right now, especially because we're in a format with like field spells being prevalent. So yeah, definitely something to consider. You could also go Cosmic Cyclone, but if you're playing against time, I wouldn't. You got to watch out for that. So, but anyway, that's all I got to say. So. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good Memorial Day weekend, and I will see you guys next time.